33 Turkish soldiers have been killed by Syrian regime airstrikes in the city of Idlib in northwestern Syria overnight. Here's what has happened on the ground over the last 48 hours. In the early hours of Thursday, Turkey-backed Syrian opposition recaptured the strategic town of Sarakab in Idlib after the regime broke the Astana deal and occupied the town. The town is located at the crossroads of Syria's main two highways, and so was considered a major setback for Russian-backed Syrian regime forces. But then, during late hours of Thursday, the Syrian regime targeted and killed 33 Turkish soldiers in what has been described by Turkish authorities as a treacherous attack. Russia, a key partner in the Astana talks, remains Bashar al-Assad's main supporter in this escalation, and speculation is rife over Syria's ability to conduct such an attack without Russian assistance. Idlib province and the surrounding countryside were supposed to be protected by a de-escalation deal brokered by Ankara and Moscow in 2018. But a breakdown of that deal prompted Ankara to deploy 12,000 troops in the beginning of February to shore up the deal and protect the border. Russia has tried to free itself from blame by stating that regime airstrikes were targeting what they call terrorist positions. But the Turkish defense minister has reiterated that this was not the case. He highlighted that the attacks occurred despite sharing Turkish coordinates with Russia. He also detailed how the airstrike hit the Turkish operation outpost multiple times, and that the attacks continued even when Turkish soldiers took refuge to nearby buildings. Even the ambulances rushing to carry the injured were hit. Turkey's defense minister then went on to confirm that Turkey had retaliated by hitting 200 Syrian regime targets. Shortly after the attack, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a 6-hour-long emergency security meeting in Ankara. His communications director, Fahreddin Altun, confirmed that air and land forces responded with suppressive fire against all known Syrian regime targets. Turkish opposition parties sent their condolences nationwide, confirming their support to an immediate retaliation against the Syrian regime. And perhaps most significantly, Turkey also announced that it will open its borders for free refugee movement into the country from Syria and allow refugees in Turkey to move onwards into Europe. Almost 1 million Syrian refugees have been displaced as a result of Syrian and Russian airstrikes in Idlib. Turkey is the world's largest host of refugees with approximately 3.7 million Syrians. The country is now making it clear that without EU and NATO support, it will no longer act as a buffer to all that is happening in Syria. The US has called for a, quote, immediate end to this despicable offensive by Assad regime, Russia and Iranian-backed forces, and that it, quote, stands with its NATO ally Turkey. The international community also spoke out against the attacks, as the UN Secretary General said he is following with grave concern the escalation in Idlib, calling for an immediate ceasefire. Now, Turkish parliament is expected to discuss the matter and agree on a more long-term response. Meanwhile, Turkey has reiterated that the international community, particularly the members of the Astana peace talks, must live up to their responsibilities. NATO is expected to convene shortly at Turkey's request, so let's see what happens next.